I'm Alicia Kennedy, and this is La Pirata, a show about bartenders, spirits, and cocktails. In this episode, I'm talking to Olivia Hu, bartender and manager at Sunrise Sunset in Bushwick, Brooklyn. It's not a neighborhood known for great cocktails, but since 2014, she's been quietly doing her part by bringing compelling drinks to this corner spot. Olivia moved from her hometown of Reno, Nevada to New York to attend school at Pace University. She got caught up in the hospitality world while both cracking open beers at DIY shows and working as a server at Distilled in Tribeca. There, Benjamin Wood got her interested in what goes on behind the bar. And eventually, she was published in Gary Regan's Best New Cocktails 2015. After attending his Cocktails in the Country workshop, she was totally hooked on bartending. Today we're talking about baijiu, the Chinese spirit usually distilled from sorghum, its cultural significance, how to drink it, and how it works in her very personal cocktail, the Farewell with Flowers. So baijiu is the best-selling spirit in the world, but it's not very well known outside China.
Correct.
When people ask me what it tastes like, I always say rotting stone fruit, and I feel like that's a terrible tasting note. So what would you say baijiu tastes like, and can you explain the cultural significance?
Absolutely. So, being somebody who grew up around baijiu, the smell is never unfamiliar to me, and my logic is always that kind of the smelliest things are the most delicious, like cheese and whatnot. But when I smell baijiu, because I'm very familiar with it, I smell peat and wet stone and moss, and sometimes pear. I get a very strong pear aroma, and citrus as well, like little notes of like lemon peel. And some of the cultural significance, I mean, baijiu is everything in China. I honestly could not think of a single spirit that means as much to a culture than baijiu does. Here I have a very cheap option that kind of like workers and factory workers, if you're some kind of gross man that has one of these in his pocket, then you're probably playing mahjong with your friends and drinking these. If you go to a grocery store in China, you're going to see rows and rows of all different kinds of brands just like this. And on the other side of it, if you were to go to a fancy dinner party, you'd probably have one of these decanters in front of each of the guests, and these little teeny tiny glasses. The glasses have to be very small because the ABV is higher than vodka. And when it comes to genpei, which is the phrase that is similar to cheers, you could be doing genpei several times through a meal, and it's very uncool to opt out of a genpei when everyone has decided to do so. And what I love about genpei is that it's not the same as cheers, because cheers is usually joyful.
Right.
But throughout a conversation, if I were to share like the grief and the joy of my life, then that would be an opportunity to genpei. So shall we do one right now?
Oh, absolutely. And which baijiu are we drinking right now?
This is Dukang Baijiu. I got it from Flushing, Queens. But it's very common. I would definitely call this mid-shelf baijiu. Okay. If you were to go to any liquor store in Chinatown, then you could definitely find Dukang Baijiu.
And is it distilled from sorghum?
It is sorghum and wheat.
Okay,
blend.
cool.
Genpei.
Genpei. That's a nice one. Yeah, definitely. So what would you say to someone who wanted to make a cocktail with baijiu?
I would definitely say either take the fresh route where you would shake it. Maybe you could have some freshly squeezed orange or grapefruit juice, lemon juice. If you could get your hands on yuzu, I think that would be amazing. Yuzu is not too easy to find around here. Or you could go the spirit on spirit route, Negroni, Manhattan. And because baijiu is so strong, maybe the Manhattan Negroni direction would be the better direction. At the same time, to mix it in with like fresh ingredients could kind of like dilute the whole ABV of it for people who are trying to drink a little bit lighter.
So you wrote a great recipe for Edible Brooklyn last year called the Farewell with Flowers, and it has such a gorgeous story behind it. Would you explain that story?
I would love to. So here we have baijiu. It is cassia wine or osmanthus wine. Osmanthus is a very fragrant bush that only grows in certain parts of Asia. And my grandmother had a osmanthus bush outside of her apartment. The first time I'd gone there, I was 1 year old, and I just kept going my entire life. And if you were to have like a delegate come in or politicians, the first thing they're getting is a cup of baijiu. And it is extremely important in Chinese culture. So I was just using this as a sweet vermouth function in a Manhattan cocktail.
Nice, nice. Can you make it for us?
Absolutely. So first I'm going to chill my coupe.
Right. And why are we serving this in a coupe?
I just like it in a coupe.
Yeah.
If it's going to be a spirit on spirit, I would rather it be served up personally.
Right. And what's the reasoning behind stirring a spirit on spirit cocktail?
So when you shake a cocktail and you have fresh components, those maybe it could be a little bit like pulpy if you hadn't strained it 100%, and some of the fresh ingredients you can shake it. You just kind of want to like beat it to incorporate everything, and a little bit dilution is not going to ruin the cocktail. But with spirit on spirit drinks, you want to stir them because, as they say, the dilution to mixture factor is a little bit more precise.
Right.
So I'm going to add and here I have some baijiu that I've infused with chrysanthemum dried tea that I got in Chinatown. This was just infused overnight, so I'd probably say like 12 hours or so of infusion.
And how much of that are you using?
2 ounces. 2 ounces of the chrysanthemum infused baijiu.
Nice.
And then here we have the osmanthus wine, baijiu. And I'm going to use 3/4 of an ounce, standard to a classic Manhattan recipe.
Do you think that baijiu is going to have a new moment in Western culture? I feel like they keep trying.
I've heard of it coming around, but I have no idea. Maybe if they do, I mean, I think my parents would be really happy, so you get baijiu more.
Because you have to go to Chinatown or Flushing to get this.
Yes, exactly. And my parents live in Nevada, so
Wow.
yeah, I'm sure they're going to like Sacramento or something. And I'm just stirring the cocktail for 30 revolutions. I had just added 2 dashes of coriander bitters, just for a little bit of just something. Normally they say that 30 revolutions is the perfect amount to minimize dilution and properly mix it. So I'm going to dump this ice water.
Nice. And what kind of strainer are you using for this one?
Normally I would use a julep strainer, but I only had hawthorn on hand. So here we go, we're straining it into the cup. And I'm just going to take a couple of the chrysanthemum petals that I used for the infusion to garnish.
Nice. That's
There we have
okay.
it.
Awesome. That's really nice.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm glad you like it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Olivia.
Thank you.